recording. We back on?
We're back
All
on.
okay,
We're
thank
in the
you.
wrong line now.
Thank you. Do we also agree that we have a non-physical body? Some people will call that their soul, their spirit. Some people call it the universe. Some people call it energy. Somewhere where...
You got people online now, so just be aware of the camera.
Hello, people online. Welcome. Don't know how many there are. How many? They also have a non-physical body. And they're here non-physically. Where do you think your emotions, your thoughts, your feelings sit? Are they part of your physical or your non-physical? Where did that come from? I heard somebody. I didn't hear you. I saw it a little bit there.
Both.
Both. Sometimes there's a link, isn't there? I think the link is the brain. I'm not forcing my opinion on you, but the brain is a physical thing. You could hold it, you could see it, you could touch it, you could smell it, taste it. What is the mind? Is the mind the non-physical version of the brain? Where is the mind?
Your pathways in your brain.
Potentially. I had a lovely answer from somebody when I asked that question. They said, what do you mean, where is the? You might as well say, when is the mind? The mind doesn't exist in space or time. Space or time exists in your mind. Oops. Gone way too deep. So let's keep clicking now. Let's get back onto our maps.
You can try and be in the camera line if possible.
It goes right over to here.
Yeah, but not. You're good there.
But then we're in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So thank you to Arnos Peters. We now have a clearer idea. You can sit down. Sorry. We now have a clearer idea of how the planet looks. And often when I'm running through this with groups of people that I'm working with, we'll have a conversation about if you wanted to travel from this top right corner of Russia to Alaska up there, how long do you think it takes? Often young people go, well, New Zealand is 24 hours. That looks like further. Or that could take like 36 hours of traveling. Forgetting that yellow bit is that yellow bit. And Alaska and Russia are about 20 miles apart. I met a group of year 11s last month who didn't know we lived on a planet. There was a teacher in the room who just went. They went, oh, we never really thought about it. But you're right, we do live on a planet. Keep going, let's click. So what are the first words that come to you when you see this map? Anybody? Upside down, right side up.
Sugar.
I thought you were going to say something, Peter.
So you're getting all the camera for those online.
Okay.
Do you want to click back up the little thing so we can let them can see where he is?
It's behind it. Anyway, so this is the right way up for you.
And also from a Māori worldview. So
Yeah.
the bottom of New Zealand they see as the top.
Yeah. So which perception is right? Yeah. Can you come and help me for a second? Sorry, I'm picking on you badly. But can you find the UK, please? He's a bit lost. He lives on this. Yeah, that's quick. That was quick. Sometimes that takes people ages because it's just disorientating. When you have someone else's perception suddenly land in your awareness and your consciousness, it's a bit dizzying. Thank you. So this is a lovely quote. You all know who Henry Ford was, I hope. Invented Ford cars a long time ago. If you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. Something about self-belief, something about understanding possibilities. Like you heard the saying, you have to see, seeing is believing. Yeah, I think that believing is seeing. You have to believe in something for it to exist. Let me give you a quick example. We did a group in a school, a pupil referral unit. So for kids who have been thrown out of a school, and they're in another school. For anybody who doesn't know what a pupil proving, but I think I'm looking around, lots of UK people here. And we were there all week. And as you can imagine, lots of stuff happened, lots of fighting, lots of shouting, lots of people didn't want to do it, but it was a powerful week and huge changes happened. And at the end of that week, the teacher said, do you do one-to-ones? And me and my colleague Bob said, yeah, we do one-to-one. We thought she was going to go, can we send him? Can we send her? Can we send her? The teacher said, when can I come? So the teacher booked in and she came for a one-to-one. And when she arrived, I'm not a psychotherapist, Didn't ask her about her childhood. I just said, why are you here? What do you think I can help with? And she went, oh, all my relationships turned to shit. I went, oh, I was wondering why she come to me about this. And then I said, yeah, all relationships do turn to shit. They all go wrong until one doesn't. Surely. Everything's going to go wrong. And then you find somebody that it doesn't go wrong with, and then you have a long-term relationship. She went, oh, I never really thought about it like that. I think you're right. Yeah. But all men are bastards. I'm sorry for the swearing, by the way. These are her words, not mine. My excuse. I didn't say anything for a good, probably 2 minutes of awkward silence until she went, oh, don't take offense. And I went, but I'm a man. Do you think I'm a bastard? She went, I don't think I would have asked to come and see you if I thought you were a bastard. Most men are bastards. And I went, I can't really comment. I haven't met most men. Have you met most men? She went, well, some men are bastards. Okay, I can agree with that statement. Some men are definitely bastards. I've encountered some of those too. Are they the ones you want long-term relationships with? She went, no, I want a nice man. And I went, hang on, you've been here for 5 minutes. 5 minutes ago, you told me that the only men who existed were bastards. How is it possible to meet a nice man if they don't exist? Can't happen. But would you love some magic in your life? Do you believe in magic? No. You can't have magic in your life then. What we hold in our hearts to be our beliefs, we start to then generate those beliefs. It's the only way it can work. I was at a meeting in Tower Hamlets a few weeks ago where they're restructuring their youth service. Do you all know where, Tower Hamlets is East London. It's got the most deprived ward of Europe within it and the most wealthy ward of Europe within it. It's real differences in that place. Very, very large Bengali population, Somali population, very, very mixed. And in this meeting, there was a very senior policeman who started to talk about young offenders. And I said, if they believe you, do you think that increases the chances or decreases the chances of them continuing to offend? You're calling them young offenders. If they go, yeah, that's me, I'm a young offender, they're going to continue to offend. That's their identity. And he just went, oh, what should I call them? And I went, well, not that, but maybe you don't name them by something that they've done. You could say young people who have regrets. Young people who have offended is different to young people who are offenders. And I think that these labels and the language that we use are really important. This is a very strange diagram that I didn't draw, but it kind of talks about how do we generate our reality. And I should slow down a little bit at this point and talk about the non-physical stuff. So I think we're blessed to have thought. Thought is the only mechanism we have for making sense of our reality. All of our experience comes to us through thought. There is nothing else. I'm not one of those kind of, do you all know who Tony Robbins is? The kind of American personal development guru, flies around in a helicopter and nodding, yeah. He seems to be, not him personally, but lots of people believe that if you're having bad thinking, negative thinking, depressed thinking, anxious thinking, there's no Americans in the room, I can say it, but that kind of American, rah, 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 just change your negative into positive, do a vision board and your life will be, look at a Ferrari every morning, you'll get a Ferrari, all of that stuff. I don't believe it. If we could change our thinking just like that, from negative to positive, from sad to happy, we would, wouldn't we? Nobody would be depressed. Nobody would choose to be anxious. Nobody would choose to have suicidal ideation. We would just go, change it. So thought is a blessing and a curse. And yet it doesn't exist. Thought doesn't, like this thing here, this bottle has form. You can hold it, you can spill it, you can drink it. It has weight, you can put it in a bag. You can't collect thoughts in a bag. They don't really exist. It's a concept. But I do believe that we have a choice about what we do with our thinking. So some of you might have to imagine this. Some of you may be remembering this, that I'm going to say. If you're imagining it, just imagine yourself arriving at a children's party. and you walk through the door, and the split second that you step into the party, the room is full of bubbles. You know, the bubble machine's on. Is this a memory or a imagination for you, Leona? It's imagination. Anybody here remembering this? Nobody here's ever you've walked into a room with bubbles. So this is a memory and his is imagination. It's slightly different perceptions, but the same scenario. The split second that you walk into that room and notice the bubbles, how long do you think it takes before you kind of don't notice the bubbles? As soon as you walk in, you're overwhelmed. Oh, there's millions of bubbles. Then you go, oh, where's the host? And where do we put the present? And oh, where's the drinks? The bubbles are still there. They haven't gone anywhere. But your attention has shifted. Your mind has gone somewhere else. So if those bubbles are thoughts, each thought, what we tend to do as human beings is we don't notice all the lovely thoughts. Nobody's ever been to a psychotherapist and said, can I give you loads of money to talk about how wonderful life is? We don't do it as humans. I've never had a referral of a young person who's doing really great. We focus on the negative stuff. So as a human being, this negative bubble floats into your awareness. Let's say it says, I'm an idiot, I'm ugly, I'm stupid, whatever it is. At that moment, that bubble has no more impact on your life than all of the other thousands of bubbles in that room. All that's happened is that you've noticed that one. And if you track that bubble and follow it, follow that thought, it then settles to become a feeling, in my opinion. If you allow that feeling to settle, that then becomes your behavior, in my opinion, in my map. If at the moment you saw that negative bubble, you went, that's a negative bubble. Oh, look at these ones. When you look back, can you find the bubble? Do you know which one it was? Maybe it's popped. And the reality is, because this is a metaphor, we can play with it. The reality is there's nothing inside a bubble. There's no such thing as a good bubble or a bad bubble or a bad emotion or a good emotion. It's just our perception of those things. We pin meaning on them. There is no, I mean, we need anxiety, we need stress that people tend to label as negative. So if we can start to, as humans, learn to look away from the negative stuff, not deny it, not completely quash it, not take medication to get rid of it, not spend lots of money and take up appointments in the NHS to be treated for it, but just go, yeah, that's really negative. But I know that everybody has that at certain points. And I'm not, by the way, not talking about severe mental health issues. I accept that there are conditions. I accept that there is need for medication. I accept that there's need for people to be supported in all of those other medical ways. But I don't believe in pathologizing children and medicating children for their thinking. I believe engaging with them, connecting with them, and talking with them about their thinking and helping them to shift how they think and how that thought process influences and impacts their life. Thank you. So stuff happens outside in the real world, not on our map, out there in the real world. Things happen, events take place. Are we in charge of all the events that take place out there? Can't be. Doesn't matter how much effort we put in. Doesn't matter how much we try. We can't control all these external events. One of the speakers earlier had a car crash on the way here. I hope she's okay, but she couldn't control that. I'm sure she was driving on the right side of the road. I'm sure she wasn't zigzagging. I'm sure she wasn't doing 120 miles an hour. Still had a car crash. Can we control how we respond to those events? Sometimes. Elaborate if you like. Can you speak up a little bit? I'm a bit deaf, sorry. You said react. I said respond. You think that's the same thing? Okay. See, I would say that you can't control how you react because a reaction is like a reflex. It's just done and then choose a response. If we slow down, I believe, not forcing this on you, unless it helps, you can take it if you like. If we start to think, if an event happens and that's a negative event, and we didn't want it to happen, if we start to think about the outcome that we want from that event and choose the right response, we can always generate the right outcome if we choose the right response. So if a really, really bad event happens, let's say that horrible thing, a car crash is quite a horrible thing, is a 2 out of 10. It's not the end of the world. She was okay. That lady who had the car crash needs to think of an 8 out of 10 response to get a 10 out of 10 outcome. If she chooses the right response, if we choose the right response to any event, we can create the right outcome. Frowning at me. It's okay to frown. Lovely. It's quite, I'm encouraging you to slow down. It's quite deep, and then we're going to move on in a minute. So things happen. These external events happen outside on the map, in the territory. They come to us through our senses. This is a bit of, so we do certain things with those things. We delete them quite often. So I don't drink milk. Quite often my wife will say to me, can you get the milk out of the fridge? And I open the fridge and go, yeah, we haven't got any. And she opens the fridge and goes, but I just don't see it. Not part of my reality. I'd never drink milk. Sometimes we distort. So we change it. Sometimes we generalize, like the teacher, all men are. She was generalizing hugely from her map. She had only met nasty men. So according to her map, that's what men were. Doesn't mean it's true. Doesn't mean it's the facts. So we get all of this stuff based on our memories and our lives and our beliefs and our families and all of these things that we've encountered throughout our existence. We then form some sort of internal map, picture, state of being. Whether we're happy, sad, whether we feel empowered, whether we feel weak, whether we feel disenfranchised, all comes to us through that process, which then informs our behavior, which then creates another event in the world. And this is a loop that goes on forever and ever. It's a kind of a map of our whole experience. I showed this to a primary school last week, and the teacher was like, they're not going to get this. And I said, I've shown this to PhD people and they struggle, but I believe primary kids can get this. And the kids got it. They understood it once we'd run through it a few times and they'd given examples and all of that. So we don't have to dwell on it. The thought is not reality, but it creates our reality. We create our reality. We have a choice. So COVID was horrible. Don't get me wrong. My business partner, Bob, lost 5 members of his family. Hit hard. It was horrific. But me, being the art of perception man, made a decision. I can either think about all the horrors all the time, or I can try to find something good in this. I can try to find, lots of people did that. There was lots of people talking about, never been for so many walks, never met their neighbours so much. No, lots of amazing things happened. The volunteering that happened, the way the community came together was beautiful. But for me, the big thing that happened in COVID was, as far as I'm aware, for the first time ever in history, the whole planet agreed to shut the planet down, stop flights, stop people mingling. You know what happened? To protect human life. We made a global decision that human life is worth protecting. For me, we've been dreaming of that for generations. So when I realized that, I had in my head and my heart, being a bit naive and stupid as I am, I thought, this is the end of war. This is the end of poverty. Surely, we've just agreed that human life is worth protecting. And then we go straight back to war. We go straight back to all of that stuff. We can choose, are we the cause of our future? Or is life happening to us? Are we at the effect end of the equation? We can choose how we approach our life. Are we creating what we want? Or are we letting things happen that we don't really want and just letting them continue to happen? We have some power in that equation. I recognize it's not equal. There's huge differences. Eric, who just did his presentation next door from Mathare, who lives in a slum where there's 500,000 people with no water and no electricity, has a very different existence and a very different reality to me. We can choose whether to have excuses or results. We can recognize, and this is Deepak Chopra, who I'm sure you all know, that this constant dialogue between every cell in our body, we're creating health, we're creating tension, we're creating stress, we're creating anxiety ourselves. Emotions don't come to us. They come from us. They emanate from us. And when I went to my first ever distance learning lecture thing for learning about youth work, we were sat in a circle. This was a long time ago. And for about 45 minutes, we were just chatting. After 45 minutes, one of the guys in the circle went, when's the lecture going to start? And this guy who'd been in the room for the whole 45 minutes went, we started 45 minutes ago and I'm your lecturer. He went, well, this is not a lecture. He said, you're studying informal education. You want me to teach you it formally? How's that going to work? We have a role in this. We're living our lives, we are practicing and we're learning from our experience as well as academic need. Robin was talking earlier, wasn't she, about the need for both. great to have qualification, but it's also great to rely on your experience and to learn from each other and to share experience and to try to learn from each other's maps. But the way we see something is our map being projected onto someone else. So this point here, perception is projection. If you see something in another person, that means you've got that thing. Otherwise, you wouldn't know what it was. So when we relate to a young person who might be labeled as being, disruptive or blah, 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 all of that, it's because we understand what that thing is. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to fully accept or even understand their map, their perception. And then take responsibility. So if you're able to respond, makes you response able rather than reacting, you're starting to take responsibility for the outcomes in your life. And we have choices. We always have choices about what to do. So I had a kid recently say to me, you know, when somebody looks at you funny on the bus and you stab them? So, what do you mean? I don't know that. And he honestly thought that's just how everybody is. Somebody bumped into them, you stab them. No, I don't. He had no idea of any other perception. That was his reality. Thank you. I'm sure some of you have seen this before. What do you see? Anybody? A young woman. Anybody see anything different? An old woman. Could you see the old woman? No. Who can see both? Oh, because you've seen it before. So the old woman is kind of looking down, sideways. This is her eye. This is her mouth. That's her chin. She's got a big hook nose with a wart on it, like a kind of a witchy looking lady. Now you can see both. So now your awareness has gone up. You will never unsee that. Every time you see this picture, you'll see both instantly. When you make these changes, when your awareness and your consciousness rises to accept something else, you can't go back to not seeing it. Thank you. I had a kid last week at that primary school said, so somebody's got a cat on their head. I can't argue with his perception of it. I don't see that. So we don't see things as they are. We see things as we are. We see the whole world through our lens, our perception, through our experiences, through our family traditions, through our cultural traditions, through our economic status. We project this out into the world and we filter everything through that perception. I don't know who made this up. I Googled it ages ago and all of these names came up. So I credited them all. I don't know. It's an old saying. Let's keep going. So, do the two orange dots look the same size? Or does one look bigger?
Cool.
Gold,
Yeah,
orange.
cool to me. Oh, sorry. Excuse my age.
Yeah, I don't know what colour they are. To be honest, I see this as grey. People have told me it's blue. I don't know.
I'll go grey.
Do you think which is bigger, right or left? The orange, the gold.
The right one looks
The
bigger,
right one
but
looks
it's probably
bigger.
the same.
Do we all agree? Do we? But we also know that they're the same size, yeah? If that orange gold circle is you, and these grey blue circles represent the challenges, the problems, the issues that you're facing, which perception suits you better? As you as an individual?
Probably overthinking it right now.
I would guess so, yeah. What else could he be doing?
I'm just leaving you hanging there.
I've somebody paused him.
Yeah.
Which feels better? Is it better to feel big and your problems feel small, or feel small and your problems feel big? This one.
Yeah.
But there's more problems there than this one. Isn't there? There's more of these than there are of these. So you'd like to have lots of small problems rather than...
My eyes, it's not the best. You picked the wrong person.
But can you see what I mean? One kid said to me, I like this one because there's less problems, and I think I could flip up on my side and get through the gap and get away from the problems. I went, okay, I take on your perception. That's lovely. Let's work with that. I can't argue with it. I can't start to deny it. It's his perception. But they are the same size, the gold dots, even though we don't perceive them in. Even though you know, they still look different. This thing that we have here, whether it's the physical brain or the non-physical mind, is the most powerful thing we've ever discovered. We're just beginning to work out how it works. We're just beginning to work out how to start to manipulate it. We're just beginning to find out how, you've heard of neuroplasticity. People have had massive brain operations, huge chunks of their brain taken away, and the rest of the brain takes on all of those duties. It's live, it functions, we can change it. We can literally change how we're wired. And I've seen it. I've seen people who have been traumatized and had PTSD, who have been homeless and addicted for 25 years, just go, oh, I've been seeing the world wrong. Shit. And they're okay, just like that. Because I strongly believe that no matter how bad things are, you're one thought away from being okay. You just never had that thought yet. And I like that word yet. It's a really small word with loads of big implications. You add yet. Somebody says, I can't do that. They just put yet at the end and it feels different. Can't do that yet. It's very different. Thank you. Top or bottom, which one looks darker? I don't know what they are. I said that they were emus last week at the primary school and they laughed at me and said they're peacocks. Okay, they're peacocks. My perception was off. My map was broken. Top or bottom, which is darker? Top looks darker. They're identical. They are the same. Who would like to name? I can't pick on Yaya again. Who would like to name these animals? Top left, all the way through. What's that one? Shout them out. Anybody?
Deer.
Deer, elephant, giraffe, seal, swan, penguin. Now you know what's coming because they're the same animals. Bizarre. Which car park space is that in? Who's overthinking? Who was doing maths? Who was trying to work out the equation? Somebody was.
Drove the car into the space.
87, yeah. Just the wrong concept. I've shown this.
Oh, you need to go back for some people. They're like, what?
Oh,
We flip it up. Same number.
go back again.
No, that's it.
What's that one? I just can't remember. We went to civilise.
Drive the car into the space in your head.
That's 86, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91.
Okay.
Our perception just goes. I mean, people trying to go doing all these equations and working out what the different, I don't know, using sine and cosine or something like that. What that is. Yeah. Anybody? What? You've seen it, so you know it. What can anybody see up here? We had some strange answers last week in the primary school. Somebody said a mouse. A little grey bit. You said it was a mouse. You can see the wall.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So your perception is accurate to a certain degree. You can't see anything else. A stone in the wall. What the grey bit?
Yeah.
So somebody said, I thought it was a stone, and then I looked closer, but it's got a face. It's a mouse peeking out of the wall. I can't see that. It's a cigar poking out of a wall. So go back again. Sorry. I worked really hard. Now can you see the cigar? Now you can see the cigar. What happened? Because that's the face. See this gentleman's face here? That's the face that the guy who'd been addicted for 25 years made when he suddenly went, I've been seeing the world wrong. He made that face. Just his whole state shifted in an instant.
Oh, yeah.
Now you got it. Look, that face. So when I'm working with the young person or any of us that have been through the training that we'd offer, working with young people, we're looking for those faces. And we'll say to them, what was it? What were you thinking right then? Because that's the one. And then they tell us their perception. And it's always correct. So in that non-physical part of you, where your emotions sit, so where all of your feelings are, where most of your decisions come from, the clearer that you can understand that, the clearer that you can articulate that, the more likely you are to become successful. Slow down for a second. This is not a young person I'm about to talk about. He was 58 when I met him in this homeless unit. And we were doing, again, 1 week process. We were doing a check-in in a circle. And there were some people there who'd come off the streets. Some people had come out of addiction centres. Some people were waiting to go to an addiction place. A couple of people were just out of prison. Somebody was waiting for a court date to potentially go to prison. And we were just introducing ourselves, and it came to Dave. Dave said, hello, big voice like that, with a big beard. I won't do the voice for much longer. Dave introduced himself as, hello, I'm the best addict I've ever met. He said, if there's pills, I'll take them. If there's powders, I'll sniff them. If there's liquids, I'll drink them. I don't care what they are. And then we worked. Day one was just kind of introductions. At the end of day two, when we were checking out, Dave had made a face like that. And when we were checking out, Dave said, my life has changed today. He said, what happened, Dave? What was it that changed for you? And he said, I know I'm not 9 anymore. You told us you're 58. And he said, I've been homeless on the streets every summer, 25 years. And every winter for 25 years, I've been in prison. And I've had a youth worker, a social worker, a therapist since I was 9. I've had all of these professionals wrapped around me at every stage of my life. I've never told any of them what I'm about to tell you lot. My teacher raped me. And I've been dragging it around my whole life as if it was my fault and as if I had something to do with it. And I said, how did it change for you, Dave? What was it today that changed? And he said, it was that thing that you did with my hands. You're frowning, so I'm going to pick on you for a second. Is that okay? What's your name? I asked Dave some questions. First of all, I said, how are your hands? Hi. He said something like that too. What I do normally is just ask questions. What we do is we train people to be connoisseurs of questions, because questions are invitations to connect with a problem. You're not forcing you to answer them, they're invitations. And when you get asked a question, your brain opens up wide. So the next question I asked Dave was, where are your hands?
Get the answer.
He made a little face like that too, a little bit like that. Where are your hands? Try and be specific.
On the book, get ready to hold the
Be
pen.
more specific. There's an answer, but did you see?
At the end of arms.
Be more specific, please. Really specific.
Attached to my shoulders. at
Which
the end
bit?
of
Which
arms,
bit of your
at the
arms
bottom
are they
of the
connected?
wrist.
The wrist.
Yeah.
Your hands are connected to your wrist. Now, I hardly ever give anybody any advice. It's a great place to keep them. I would encourage you to do. The last question for Dave was, Dave, when are your hands?
When?
Hello? Your hands are 1843 and 2096.
Yeah.
When are your hands? I know you know the answer. When?
When?
When are your hands? It's a really weird question. When are your hands? They're only ever one time. There's only one time your hands can ever be.
But only one time.
Yeah. Your hands are not next Tuesday. Your hands are not last Thursday.
Ah, no, here.
Oh, I knew she knew the answer. I believed in you more than you believed in you, which is bizarre. Your hands are now, and you're connected to them by your wrists. And what I said to Dave was, anytime you feel your life is going off in one of your spirals and it's all getting out of control, just remember where your hands are and when your hands are. And he said that was the weirdest and most powerful thing he'd ever felt, because it connected him with now rather than the horrors that happened to him when he was 9. He suddenly went, what? I live here and now. I don't live there and then. Actually, there and then don't exist, do they? My kids hated, you know, when the kids are in the back of the car and they say, are we there yet? And my answer was always, we can never be there, because when we get there, it's here. These are ideas that we've made up. There and then do not exist. They don't exist. The past does not exist. We cannot go there. We cannot go back to the day before and say to Dave, don't go to school that day. Can't do that. What we can do is change, in partnership with Dave, how he feels about that horror. We can't take it away, but we can change what he brings with him into the now. So Dave decided that that moment he was going to bring in, it only happened once, it was horrible, it wasn't my fault, it's never happened again. I'm strong, I'm still here. I've got a 100% success rate at getting through these horrible situations. So he decided what he was filling up his awareness and his consciousness with. Rather than focusing on the negativity and the pain and the shame and the guilt and the horror, he suddenly had a different mind. The next time I saw Dave after those 4 days, he'd shaved his beard off. He'd gone to doctors, he'd got a dentist. He was still living in a homeless unit. but he was starting to make big changes. And this approach can lead to big changes. Thank you. I love this picture. I've got no idea. I can't credit it because I don't know who took it. I don't know where it came from. As long as you've seen this before. What do you see? Which way is he facing? Because your mind is making this up. It kind of looks like he's facing that way, and it's in profile. But the eyes are not right, are they? And then when you realize it could be looking at you, but then none of it's right. But your brain does the work for you. It tries to make sense of it. All of this stuff is done. Like, you don't put effort into breathing, do you? Yeah, yeah. You don't have to try to breathe. You don't have to practice breathing. You don't have to think about breathing. But now that you are thinking about breathing, are you doing it right? Does it start to feel a bit clunky and a bit weird? It's gone from your autonomic system into your, you have to think of, when you start to think about these things, it becomes really clunky. The power that we have in our mind when we let it do its job is immense. The power for recovery, power for change, the power to just see something that you've never seen before, the power to change your life and others is immense if we just allow it, rather than trying to structure it and plan it. I'm not saying don't plan it, but plan it too much. But you don't think about walking. Some of us who drive don't think about driving. Once we've done something enough and we've practiced it enough, it becomes just part of us, effortless. Thank you. This is a flying wheelie bin that I spotted. Does it look like it's floating to some people? Obviously, it's not floating. You can see what it is now. This is just a puddle. Some people say, no, it's not, it's a shadow. Why are you shaking your head, Charlotte? Do you think it's floating?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll accept Charlotte's perception. What's that? I can't hear, sorry.
A hole.
A hole. Anybody not see a hole?
Hey, Barry.
A bale of hay. Can you see the bale of hay?
Yeah.
Now you can see both, and you'll never unsee it because you've stepped up a level and you've got some new awareness. It's in your consciousness. It's going to be there forever. Bizarre picture, but it's completely real. This is not manipulated in any way. Look at your faces. What is going on? What is this man talking about? This is a real unedited photo. And if you click the next one, you'll see it makes complete sense. It's just a stone in a puddle. Oh, look at it! Look at it! It often happens in my session. But it's okay because you're waterproof. Do you know about tears? You know we have tears of pain, tears of sadness, tears of joy, tears of loss. Each of them has a different chemical composition. They serve a purpose. They take something from us. That means you're working perfectly. It means you're working perfectly. Some people hold it in. Some people hold it in. And then the stuff that it takes from us stays within. So the meaning of our communication lies with the person receiving the communication, not in our intended meaning. So we have conversations that we think with young people, we think we're telling them something, and they can hear and feel and take on something completely wrong that we didn't intend. And adults do this too all the time. I'm thinking of an example. Lots of our work is about stories. Lots of our work is about metaphors and narratives and optical illusions and stuff that sets the brain off on a train of thought that hopefully will lead to something. We plant a lot of seeds that then in subsequent sessions we start to nurture and water and give fertilizer to, and then they grow. So a story's come to me. About 2 years, just after lockdown, a family friend of a friend of a friend, somebody I'd never met, but I'd heard of, called me and said, my friends would like to come and see you. They've been married 7 or 8 years, I think, and they're going to break up. I said, I'm not a therapist. And they went, I know, but you seem to be able to instigate change somehow. Can they come and see you? And I was like, oh, okay. So this couple came and they knocked on the door. I answered the door. Literally, they went, we've tried therapy, joint and separately, and we've tried counselling and it didn't work. And if you can't fix us, we're going to break up. And I went, no pressure. What are your names? Would you like to come in? Take a seat? And they sat down, and then I said the usual question: what do you think I can do? Like, how do you think? Why are you come to see me? Like, what do we do about this? And he went, well, we argue about everything. And she went, and nothing. Okay. And I went, when was the last time it happened? And he went, Friday. Or you tell him. And she went, he came home from work. You know what he said to me? He came in and he put his keys down and he said, shall we have fish and chips for dinner? I went, well, and then you had a row. And she went, yeah. And I said, what did you hear? He said, you want fish and chips for dinner. What did you hear? And she said, he hates me and he thinks my cooking's shit. And I looked at him and I said, is that what you meant? And he went, no, I love her. That's why I'm here. And I wanted her to take a night off from cooking. And I said, well, why don't you keep that? What did you hear phrase? And every time you feel a little row bubbling up, just say, hang on, what did you hear? If you can nip it in the bud. And then he said, well, I don't understand what's gone wrong in our marriage. It's a proper 50-50 marriage. I don't understand what we're doing wrong, apart from the arguing thing. And I said, well, I know. But how can you possibly know? We haven't told you anything. I said, you just told me what's wrong with your marriage. Marriage is 100-100, not 50-50. You're giving 50% each to your marriage. Of course it's going to go wrong. You need to give 100% each to your marriage for it to work. He just went, oh. And he made that face. And suddenly he realized he had to do something. He couldn't wait for his marriage to be successful. He had to create a successful marriage. He has agency in that process. And they're still together. And I'm still in touch with them. That is such a powerful thing when you're working with young people, just to say, what did you just hear? I took this photo. Some of the other ones I didn't take. This is in some sort of optical illusion museum in the Lake District, where I went with my kids a long time ago. Teaching and learning are the same. They're mirror images of the same thing. You see the word learn. Oh, it's just, okay. Some people don't see it, but I saw it. It's a strange font. I realized that. And this is, it's actually cut from pieces of wood. I saw that and thought, like, if I do lots of training in this stuff, and if I can't train people to do it, it means I haven't really learned it, I think. But there's something in teaching others to do the same thing that we all do. And lots of you train other youth workers and train apprentices and all that kind of stuff. It's evidence that you've learned something. If you can pass that knowledge on, it means you know it. You really know it. So perception is not the same thing as reality. I think we've made that clear. Anybody not yet on side think that's true? Does anybody not think that's true? Really, really not. Is that cat going up or down the stairs?
I don't know.
You think up? Anybody see it coming down the stairs?
For a while.
Anybody see a peacock or anything different?
I see that.
I don't know. Maybe the cat doesn't know. Maybe the cat doesn't care.
Very easy.
But you don't think it's a cat? What did you say?
I see when I first looked at it, I see the cat walk backwards. Right on stage.
I can't argue, but it's your perception. You own it. It's yours. I can't argue with that.
Get so tired.
Right. So dark grey, light grey, black, white. You can see that. It's the same colour. Who doesn't believe me? Charlotte doesn't believe me. Both of those squares are the same colour. I promise you. That's still it. Charlotte, do you want to do it? Come and see it close up. Tell me how close you get when it still looks different. They're the same colour.
What, these blocks, these stones?
That and that are the same colour. You
Okay.
still think they're different.
Yeah. Well, what about this white bit?
Look,
I didn't get it. Well, there's a line here, though.
they're the same colour.
You're on the screen.
You still don't believe me? It's okay. It's okay. Perception is able to be manipulated, it's able to be updated, it's able to be improved, it's able to be changed. And when you practice it, you still don't believe me.
But I can't see it. I'm just trying to do the
Does it help if you do that from there? Just put your hand up to
Oh yeah,
block
no,
the
I
light.
can see it now.
Oh, look, Charlotte's making the face. She's making the face. She's making that. Oh, whoa.
Yeah,
It's bizarre, isn't it?
Okay.
Who can't see it? Who still thinks they're different? It's okay. I'm not going to argue with you, but
I closed one eye when I did it too. So I covered the middle line and I closed one eye and then the colours were the same.
yeah. No,
Maybe.
maybe.
Depends what I eat, clothes as well.
Oh yeah, only if you're from Ireland.
Yeah. You're right, I mean, if that's a total.
None of this really matters, but it's important to recognise that these things can shift.
If you're standing up, you can see it better.
Yeah, quite possibly. Thank you. Can anybody see any movement in that picture?
Oh, yeah.
Of course.
It's not moving in any way. It's not a GIF. It's not moving at all. You're doing all of that yourself. Bizarre, isn't it? Who sees it as still? Because some people do. You don't see it moving at all. What about if you move? It's strange. I see it as kind of wobbling.
Yeah.
Yeah, some people see it actually moving like across the page. How are you doing that? Could you teach me? I don't understand. I see them as kind of shimmering, but kind of bouncing backwards and forwards. Yeah. Thank you. So, these are my ways that I like to see things. Always and always, which I like. Two very different things. But if you can always do something and do it always, perception is everything. It's all we've got. The way that we see the world is all we have. And we have agency in changing it, improving it, expanding it, sharing it. It's our choices. And if we're curious and playful, like you who have already forgotten the name, which is more, when you were little, you were curious about those people who could walk. And you carried on trying and experimenting and practicing and pushing and falling over again and regretting it. And if you're curious and playful and you're kind and you use humor whenever possible, and you trust this process that we're engaged in called life. No point arguing against what is. There's no point putting energy into something that you can't change. No point looking at what happened when you were 9 and spending your whole life going, "Ugh." It's a waste of your energy. We were talking, weren't we, about the lovely Buddhist saying. I don't know if it was Buddha or a Buddhist saying that if something's going on in your life, it's causing you pain and there's nothing you can do about it, why worry? There's something going on in your life and it's causing you pain and there is something you can do about it, why worry? Do the thing. Worry is normally, and anxiety and depression and stress, is either associated with something from the past that has finished, you can't do anything about, or something from the future that hasn't happened. A lot of us spend a lot of time, me included, even though I know this stuff, me included, I spend a lot of time worrying about the future, which is a waste. You spend your time now being stressed and anxious, it can prevent the future from being the thing that you want it to become. It's a thing that it's hard for people to grasp it. When we talk with young people, we often say, who wants to be successful? So I could ask you, who would like to be successful in their life? I know you're all successful youth workers and stuff already. I want to be successful. Not everybody puts their hand up in classes sometimes. Some kids go, I don't want to be successful. Success is really frightening because you get noticed. I used to be one of those children. I was a teenager who, if somebody rang our doorbell at home, I would hide. Literally hide till I was, I don't know, 14. Then I realized if I continued doing that, I wasn't going to be able to do much at all in my life. So I went and worked on it. I was painfully shy. I've got no idea why. I've got loving, supportive parents. They're still together now and they're in their 80s. I don't know what had happened. I had some trauma as a child, like I think everybody does. But something changed in me that enabled me to be able to do lots of other things. Keep collecting questions. Questions are invitations to change. They're invitations to see something different. And in my team, we've become kind of connoisseurs of questions. We love looking for new questions. So when a young person has shared their perception with us, we can just say things like, what if that's not true? Rather than you're wrong. What if that's not true? What if that stopped today? They go, oh. When I was running a youth club a while ago, I think, is it Kolbian theory when you do something and then you reflect on it and then you improve your practice and you deliver it again and that kind of learning cycle that goes on? I think that's good and that's important and it's valuable. But I think in youth work, you need to be able to reflect in the moment. You need to be able to adapt there and then to what's going on. Otherwise, you haven't got a hope in a setting with more than 2 young people. You have to be able to be agile and ready. So in interviews, we used to say to people, what's the answer to the question you hope I don't ask you? We had people just walk out. Seriously, 3 people in one interview for one job, 3 people just went. Somebody burst into tears. Somebody said 9. I said banana. I don't know the question. It doesn't matter what you say. But some people get caught up in their thought process and it gets tangled and knotted and they can't untangle it and it becomes problematic. And then they get overwhelmed and then it influences their state and then they don't know where to go. Why are you laughing? So what is the answer to the question you hope I don't ask? It's a strange question, but it makes your brain go until you go, I could just say anything to this madman. I don't know the question. So questions, be connoisseurs of them. And so focus on switching the personal to the universal. So again, this conversations we have with young people about things like anxiety, which has been a constant topic this whole conference, mental health. When people really mean mental illness, I think people say, oh, Robin, it's really bad. I've been diagnosed. I've got mental health. And I go, well done. Isn't mental health what we're all aiming for? You mean we've got mental illness? Well, don't call it mental health if it's got confused. But we had a 14-year-old boy very recently come to a session of ours. Don't know where to start with him. David was his name. He said, hello, my name's David. I'm LGBTQ+. And I said, you can't be all of that. And he went, no, I am. They told me. They told me that. I am. That's what I am. And I went, you can't be lesbian, gay, bisexual. And he went, what? Why am I with these crazy people? The reason he'd been referred to us is that he was self-harming. 14-year-old boy. Not being me, I asked him a question. I said, what made you start self-harming? I didn't ask about his childhood. I didn't ask if he had an ACE or adverse childhood experience. I didn't ask if he'd had any trauma or if some incident had happened in the family. His answer horrified me. I'm still horrified. I might cry. He said, well, they came to my school. They did an awareness session. And they told us that sometimes we get knotted up thinking and it becomes painful and we can't make sense of it. And for some people, it really helps to take that non-physical pain to make it physical. And then they showed us how to do it safely. I went home and tried it and it worked. It's like, we're advertising mental illness. We're filling up and gang crime and knife crime and homelessness and drug abuse. We're talking to young people about all the stuff that we don't want them to do. I think that's insanity. We should be talking. I don't think we should have a VRU. I've had this conversation with Liv Peck in London. I don't think we should have a violence reduction unit. I think we should have an increasing the peace unit. I think if we want people, like imagine if I could only talk to my lovely wife who I've been with for 31 years because I do all of this stuff and live it too. If I could only talk to her about divorce, it'd be horrific. We only talk to young people in Britain. I don't know how it is everywhere, but from what I've seen, lots of other places adopt the British way, particularly within the Commonwealth, even when we've seen that it doesn't work. We used to have, I don't know if you're young enough to remember somebody coming to your youth club with a drug box, like a kind of like a toolkit. They opened up and all the different drugs were in there and it told you how much they were, how long it lasted, whether or not the chemicals were smelling, whether or not you could become addicted straight away. And kids would look at it and go, oh, we'll have that then. That's really cheap. And my mum won't smell it. And it doesn't last for very long. Oh, I'll have that then. We're showing them all the stuff we don't want them to think about. Like their heads are full of problems. And it's easy to change that. Don't talk about them. I used to run a charity called Through Unity, and we supported bereaved families after homicides. It was started by Damilola Taylor's dad. And at the very beginning of it, I was involved as a volunteer for a while and then delivered some sessions and support for the families and the young people. And eventually the family said, could you become the CEO? And I did for a while. And I'm still associated with them, the charity very close to my heart. Some of the conversations we used to have with those families, yeah. And some of the conversations we used to have with young people as a charity. So we would turn up at a school or a college or a crew or a prison. And I would normally have a bereaved mum or a bereaved dad, usually a mum, because dads tend to shut up and lock it all away and hold it down and not talk about it. And we would normally get to these places and there would be someone who'd been stabbed and survived. And he would be talking about his horror and his trauma. There'd be a surgeon there who'd be talking about stitching up children. There'd be an ambulance paramedic talking about scooping children up off the floor. They'd show slides of gaping wounds. They'd have a gang member, an ex-gang member, come and talk about, the stuff he used to do and all of that. And statistically, if there was 100 children in that room, 2 of them or 3 of them, possibly, depending on where you live in the country in Britain, might have something to do with crime. They might have an older brother who's involved. They might have a dad who's in prison. They may have experienced something. They may have done something. But 97 or 98 of those 100 children have got nothing to do with that. Not part of their day-to-day thinking, really, although it's becoming more and more prevalent. And they used to leave those sessions petrified. And I think that if you're a child and you leave thinking, whoa, it's really dangerous where I live, loads of people get stabbed and all of this stuff's going on and they've come in and told to me about it, and it was an assembly, I think that increases the chances of you picking up a weapon, increases the chances of you potentially joining a gang for the perceived protection that you get. Every single young man I've ever encountered in relation to knife crime, when I say, why'd you carry a knife? They say, for protection. I think, you want protection? I will get you a shield. Right, a knife is not a protective implement. You cannot protect yourself with a knife. It's a very dangerous implement. It's designed to cut food or attack. So we play with these perceptions. We play with these things in beautiful, and I've enhanced it. I mean, my colleague Bob wanted to be here but couldn't be here. He's got a real good way about taking something that feels intensely personal. Everybody thinks it's only me that thinks. Nobody else has got anxiety. Nobody else has got shame. Nobody else has got guilt. No one else has got all of this stuff. When you turn it to the universal, we just say with anxiety, everybody has anxiety. There's not a single human being who doesn't have anxiety. And often young people go, what? Really? Yeah. I think I said it yesterday, didn't I? I could choose to stand here and be really anxious, or I can call that excitement. It's the same feeling. I get butterflies. What do you get when you're anxious?
Yeah, butterfly.
You get butterflies. Some people get tension in their jaw. Some people's eyelids go. Some people get a twitchy lip. Some people get churning. Some people cry. But if you can recognize what you do, what your physiology, what your physical body does when your non-physical body introduces an emotion that you don't like, if you can recognize the physical sign, the physiology, you have a chance to change it. You've heard that what people call emotions is energy in motion. This is sometimes woo-woo for people. If you feel that your anger is a tightness in your stomach, but excitement is that you can switch it, you can make it bubbles. It's yours. You can play with it, you can change it, you can adapt it. It's yours, it belongs to you. However you want. I don't know what the difference between anxiety and excitement is, really. And I know that if that couple that were rowing could just recognize the physiological signs that they're about to have a row, or some of the boys that I've worked with, the physiological signs that they're about to punch someone or stab somebody for bumping into them, if they can learn to recognize that physical sign, they then have a chance to intercept it, switch it into something else, and prevent those horrible outcomes from happening. It takes practice, like walking, like breathing, like thinking. Thank you. Isn't that fantastic? I don't know who wrote it. I don't know who spoke it. Stole it off YouTube. Yeah, we can change the meaning of our life. We can help other people change the meaning of their life too. If we connect. I really, I think there's, I was going to say I believe. I think there's a difference between beliefs and knowledge. That you can only believe in something that you're not 100% sure about. Once you have full knowledge, you know it. So I know that connection is the only thing that helps. If you have PTSD and you go to see a therapist, it doesn't matter if that therapist has got 25 PhDs. If you don't feel connected with them, they can't support you. But I also know that if you have PTSD and you meet somebody like me or somebody like my team who work in this way and you feel connected, you feel better. Connection does the heavy lifting. I honestly believe it. I get into some trouble with therapists, and I'm not suggesting that our work is a replacement for therapy of any kind. I'm suggesting, as has been spoken about a lot for these last few days, this is preventative. If people can get the hang of this stuff when they're young, they grow up to become happy, healthy, positive, successful. I don't know 100% of the time. I'm not able to keep in touch with 100% of the young people. But I think it increases the chances. I think it has to. And when I finished the session last week in that primary school, the teacher said to me, "It's amazing how you created connection with those children, just like that. You only had an hour." And I said, "I didn't create." She went, "No, you did. I was in the room." I mean, I don't create connection. I accept that it exists. I don't have to connect with you. We're already connected. We are. We're related. Have you seen that YouTube clip of a kid that did the maths? Oh. So you have everybody, I know this is not true now because you can have test tube babies and all that, but traditionally you would have two parents, 4 grandparents, 8 great-grandparents, 16 great-great-grandparents. He did the maths, he went back and then added up the numbers and compared those numbers to the amount of humans that we think have existed. The maths doesn't work unless we accept that some of your great-great-great-grandparents are mine. It's true. They have to be. We are connected. So we don't have to create it. We have to accept it, maximize it, enhance it, and make space for it. And I gave a talk once. I think it was at the VRU's predecessor, which was called, what was it, Serious Youth Violence? Yes. Something like that. About how feeling connected, having a shared identity, having a common purpose, being part of something, usually turns us into stable, focused, positive, happy individuals. The sad indictment on our society, particularly in London, in the UK, where my map is coming from, my perception is coming from, is that the gangs do that better. Gangs give them everything on the plate. You can have a shared identity, you can have a goal, you can have a name, you can have an income. You can have a goal and a purpose. And it feels good to have those things. And I know that we can do it better than gangs if we put the effort in. We can make a difference. And another little clip. This is something I'm really proud of. We did make this one. It's not working at all, is it? Yeah, look. And then another thing. If you can change the way you see the world, you change the world you see. That teacher now has a different perception. She can see that there are some nice men. She's changed the way she sees the world. I'm sure this has happened to some of you. This happened to me when I got a car. I decided I'd get a certain car in a certain color because I hadn't seen it anywhere. I wanted it to be unique. You know what happened when I left the garage? What happened? You see them everywhere. And do you know why that is? I think you do know. I know that you know. Those cars, because you have one of those cars, that color is part of your awareness. Once it's in your awareness, you notice it. If it's not in your awareness, you don't notice it. It's a bizarre thing. I want to finish on a little experiment. If I need a volunteer, though, who's up for volunteering? I knew you would say that. Come on. We can all do it if you want, but I'm going to show you at the front. First of all, we'll do it for the cameras. There's a camera there and a camera there. Okay. Just stand like this, about shoulder width apart, feet about shoulder width apart, straight, yeah?
Yeah.
Just imagine, and I'm imagining that you have an imagination, that I know you told me earlier you had one, so just plant your feet in the ground. Imagine that you've got roots growing through your feet, down deep into the ground. You cannot move your feet.
Okay, should I close my eyes?
Not yet. You know. Then what I want you to do, actually take one step this way, so you're a bit, better. When I ask you, I want you to bring your arms up, about shoulder width apart. Don't do anything yet. I want to ask you to turn one direction or the other, but keep them parallel. So don't do this. Okay. Don't do this. You're going to do very slowly, like this. Whichever direction you feel, hang on. Until you feel the first hint of any sort of twinge here. Don't want any injuries. The very first hint. Okay, just start to turn slowly. See how far you can get before you'll feel it down here somewhere. And you're quite young, so you might get quite far. About there?
Yeah.
Then measure this hand. Where is it? Just halfway across that window, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, come back. This time, same thing.
Yeah.
Close your eyes. Take a breath in through your mouth. That's your nose. Yeah. Out through your nose. Then do the same, really slowly. Knowing that you have power within you that you never relied on before, that knows you can go further than you've ever gone, that knows you can do more than you ever dreamt possible if you allow it to happen. Can you go further? Can you go further? Okay, now look. No effort, just belief, just knowledge, just willing to give it a try. We went further. Thank you. That was the experiment. People call it a day there. Just a nice one.
Okay, so before we leave, you're going to put yourself in one of these categories.
Doesn't matter which one.
Thank you, Robin. Really insightful, a little bit mind-blowing, but yeah, beautiful challenge, I think, for us in the work we do. We have 5 minutes, so if anybody has, there we go.
Thank you. Right, I was just looking at that thinking I don't know if I get it and I don't know if I don't get it, but
That's all right.
I really enjoyed it. So thank you.
Thank you.
And there's lots of like relationships and connections that I'm on board with. But I think coming back to just what you were saying about like information kind of services and like drug boxes and things like that. In terms of a lot of youth work I've been involved in relation to like sexual health, there's a lot around young people don't have access to the information that they need to be able to keep themselves safe. And I think just by showing somebody how to put a condom on, about to access contraception, I don't see how that would have a negative impact in the sense of how showing somebody drugs makes them want to take drugs. Like, and I don't know if that's what you were saying, but
not 100% of the time, but for those children that we end up worrying about, it's enough sometimes. I'm not disagreeing. We have to educate, we have to make people aware, but in the right ways.
What do the right ways look like?
To check in and say, what did you hear? Now, after I said, don't just show people drugs and go, oh, it's finished now, bye. So let's talk about this.
Because that's kind of good quality youth work.
Yeah.
What you have space for that.
Forming a proper connection, not doing youth work to people, working with them, as has been spoken about. The whole thing about co-creation. I often get asked, and funders ask, don't they, you must co-create with the young people. I don't know how to do it without that. I can't imagine how you can create something without co-creating it. And because I think those of us who think that way just do it. Those of us who have to learn to do it, it becomes a bit more clunky. And maybe some of the workers that I've encountered with the drug boxes and stuff with the clunky workers. But I know what you're saying. If it's done in the right way, it could be educational only. And young people will do what they choose to do anyway. No matter how good the worker is, some young people will make the wrong choice. Yes. But if you encounter one of those young people who's made the wrong choices and you adopt this kind of approach, they have a chance. That thing about labeling somebody, I don't understand it. If they take the label and believe it, then they're going to continue to be that. Thank you.
Thank you. So, thanks very much, Robin, for making us think things through there. My big question is, it hasn't been spoke about a lot in the conference regarding mobile phones. And you talk about, similar to your question, showing young people and then they go up. Information that they are getting alone without support and taking it on identity, on who they are, on mental health or mental illness, all the information that young people are being filled with. It can be, I suppose I agree with you in terms of like, there people are coming and going, I'm told I'm this, I'm that, and this, and we're not very brave to confront that. What you've just said, it can't be all of them, but that comes out of, I've got mental health issue, I've got this, and then all the other information they get from being on screens a lot and not knowing what is true or not true. What's your, I suppose just a challenging question on what's your perception on how we even connect with them in that sort of scenario, you know, rather than going, you know what it is, it was much better when I didn't have that, which we all agree, but deal with it, you know.
It's an ongoing challenge, isn't it? I can't start to blame this thing.
Yeah.
This thing does not create emotions. This thing is not in charge of how I live my life.
Yeah.
And yet, any new technology seems to get all the blame. It was the same when people invented the printing press. It's going to ruin the world.
Yeah.
And I don't know, cassettes finished and CDs came in. That was the end of the music industry. Whatever's new, we kind of blame everything on. Seems. I'm going to answer in an obscure way, as you may have guessed. I was asked to do a group very recently with some very high level, like the world's best young musicians. They're at a conservatoire, but apparently they had performance anxiety, which I couldn't really. I was like, you're the best musicians in the world to get into this place. How can you have performance anxiety? So we sat them in a circle. I said, we don't know each other. Some were singers, some were string players, some were, wind players. They didn't know each other. So I said, it's probably good if we all introduce ourselves. I'm going to ask a question and I'll give everybody a turn for 2 minutes. I just wanted to answer, who are you? And we're going to sit on this hot seat to answer it. And everybody agreed. And then I put a camera in front and said, I'm just going to press record and leave it for 2 minutes. And they freaked out. And I said, what's going on? You were all happy to introduce yourselves for 2 minutes. I put the camera down and now you're freaking out. And they went, it's making us anxious. I went, what, a camera? It's making you anxious. It's made of plastic and metal and batteries and some other stuff I don't understand. Nothing in that camera produces emotions. You're producing that emotion yourself. And by the end of that discussion, they'd realized that what they were doing was blaming the audience, the examiner, the promoter, their manager for their own internal state. It comes from us. So my answer to you is my kids have all got phones and they've got about 12 screens in their rooms. But when I go in to say hello, I know they're friends. So I'm engaging with them. It's the connection, I think, is the only protective factor we can have. I think we thought that when the internet happened, the freedom of information, the access to information was going to make us so much more intelligent and brighter, and we'd find solutions. We just got lost in it, I think. But it's really important to be able to have the conversation with young people. I think everything stems from conversation. We can't improve their relationship to whatever it is that's causing them anxiety or stress or mental illness or on there. We think it's causing them. It's coming from them somehow. And having the conversation, unpicking the thought processes, gives us a chance to then redirect things and make it a little bit more palatable. I think what seems to happen is we get our thinking all tangled up. People say things to me like, I'm just overthinking everything. You said it. You can't really overthink. It's like saying my car's overdriving. My fridge is overcooling. Your brain and your mind are doing the thing that they're designed to do. They're designed for thinking, or built for thinking, or created for thinking, whichever faith you come from, or whatever. It's doing the thing that it's supposed to do really, really well. The challenge becomes in how we perceive it and how we relate to it. So I think that the only thing really wrong with most of us when we have a problem is our relationship to our thoughts. It's okay to have bad thoughts or negative feelings and emotions if the relationship to them is, yeah, it's not my whole life. I used to think I had to feel good to do good, and that life has got peaks and troughs, and I had to be at a peak in order to perform at a peak level. But it dawned on me that that doesn't exist. I've made that up. It's in my head. Sometimes I've delivered a session and people go, that was awesome. And I'm like, oh, I could hardly get out of bed this morning. It's in here. And I'm hoping that for those of you who this is still settling, that some seeds have been planted that will be nurtured by you and will grow. And at some point in the future, you'll go, now I know what Robin was talking about. Eventually, that might happen.
I'm not going to take any other questions because of the time, but I know Robin will be happy to stay and
Yeah.
and
What
share.
time is the plenary? 3. Is there a break now?
I think is that right?
Yeah.
Yes, there's a three.
3.
So we'll do one final round of applause for Robin. Thank you so much. And for our team support. And for our photographer. Enjoy your afternoon break and we'll be back together downstairs at 3.
Thank you.